that better?
Let's do it.
Can you hear me? I can
Yeah.
hear myself.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
This
this
week we didn't bother going to see any movies. Actually, I did see something at the cinemas, but
You
it wasn't
saw-
worth watching.
I remember what it was,
I
and
saw Game Night.
yeah, no offense, why?
It was on.
It looks
There was
like
nothing
shite.
else.
Red Sparrow was on, wasn't it?
That doesn't.
You're not
I,
really.
I would see it, but I don't care enough to specifically go out and see it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I couldn't give a fuck about Tomb Raider either.
Oh my god, don't even talk about it. I just anytime someone's like, "Oh, what's on?" and like Tomb Raider, I'm like, no, like that's not an option.
Just gonna be, like,
Like you're
looking at
asking for
the-
a bad time.
looking at the trailer for that, I'm like, they've done a very good job at recreating what the current crop of Tomb Raider games look like
Yeah.
on screen, but I've already played them, and they're probably a better game than they are a film. Like, the
Yeah.
story is not the interesting part of the Tomb Raider games.
No.
It's the fun you have playing.
Yeah, I was gonna say like no offense, but it's not one of those games you play for the story.
What they did is Tomb Raider used to be a certain way, the game.
Mm.
Then Uncharted came out, and they decided we need to make it more like that, and that's pretty much. It's pretty much. She's Lady Nathan Drake now.
Lady
pretty
Nathan
much,
Drake.
That's pretty much what they've done with Tomb Raider, and that's fine because it updated it a bit. It was a bit old school for a while.
Yeah. So, anyways, we are actually revisiting an episode I tried to get Ren to do last year,
And then we kind of did it.
but it wasn't
It was more about Asian cinema. Than it was about
So,
this. I did mention a couple of anime films. Like
you did,
Cowboy
but
Bebop movie.
that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. And Grave of the Fireflies, probably.
This point last year, you had only seen maybe Grave of the Fireflies, and you were a big fan of Cowboy Bebop. You didn't really know that much else about anime.
I'd seen Princess Mononoke as well.
Oh yeah, okay. So you've seen a bit of Studio Ghibli. You still haven't seen Spirited Away. So I gave Ren.
I've seen Ponyo.
You've seen Ponyo, fair enough.
Yeah.
I gave Ren a list of films that we were going to, because I've watched the ones I've watched and I recommend, and I think, is a good range. He watched one of those and then went off and watched his own movie. So
Yep.
nothing's
That's me.
changed.
That's me.
So I think we should talk about Your Name, because that's the film that we watched. We've watched both, and
Was
then
that last year that came out?
it came out year before, and then last year's when Silent Voice came out,
Okay.
and I tried to watch it, but then it was like not sold out, but it was in like only select few cinemas,
Yeah.
and we couldn't really get
Anime
to it.
releases are difficult. Yeah.
Yeah,
If they're coming out, like they've got an Attack on Titan movie at the moment. It's
yeah.
just
Do
come
not
out.
watch that.
Yeah, I don't think I'd bother.
Any there's just films that you do
being
not touch.
said, I haven't even started watching Attack on Titan.
He's watched like everything to do with Berserk, and like started reading the manga, and you've got like a freaking figurine too,
Yeah, because it's the best.
but you haven't watched Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's like levels though. Like you showed me this pyramid where it's like, oh well, the basic ones are like Pokemon, Naruto,
It was like entry level. What was it?
Yeah.
Entry level anime, and it was like Dragon Ball Z,
Dragon Ball
Pokemon
Z,
and stuff
yeah.
like that.
And then like at the very top, it was like
the
Berserk.
elite Berserk.
And then I'm like, Ren, you're starting on the wrong. You're
I've
going
started
the
off
wrong
here.
way. It's the other
I
way.
started at the top and now I'm going down.
You literally are. It's okay. So I used to be this huge fan of anime. I used to watch anime like 24/7. I don't do that anymore because life
Yeah.
and
You
circumstances.
still watch it, though.
I still watch it. I still enjoy like
You're probably just more selective about what you watch.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. I tried to watch Sword Art Online and I was like blah. And then like honestly,
Speaking of that pyramid, that was in the Untouchables range.
what does that mean? Untouchable.
That's like below slave level.
oh my god.
Fairy Tail and Sword Art Online were considered the shittiest.
Like, I don't get the hype behind it. Everyone I've spoken to, whenever I say I love watching anime or I've enjoyed watching anime, they're like, have you seen Sword Art Online? Oh my god, you should watch Sword Art Online. Sword Art Online's amazing. And I'm like, okay, I need to watch this crazy ass show because everyone raved about Attack on Titan and I was like, fuck yeah, man, I'm going to watch Attack on Titan. And I loved it. So I thought, well, I better watch Sword Art Online. I'd watched a few episodes of Log Horizon, which is kind of like the same concept. Guy gets stuck in a video game. And so I was like, well, fuck, what do I have to lose? It's clearly a more advanced version of that. Watch the first few episodes. Okay, yeah. And then episode like 5 or 6, it just gets weird. I'm not sure if you've seen it.
I haven't seen any of it.
If you know anything that happens.
I'm not interested.
Okay, so episode 1 to 5, it's about this guy, Kirito, who gets trapped in the game. And then there's this other girl who, I cannot remember her name. That's how little this anime means to me. Yeah, so he gets trapped in the game, meets this girl. he was like a beta tester, so he's already got a lot of knowledge. And the game pretty much is if you die in here, you die in real life.
In real life, yeah.
So the first few episodes is him like being with a guild, is that what it's called?
Probably. Yeah,
Being with a guild, and then the guild dying off because he's lied to them about how strong he really is, and
Yep.
they've kind of been misled. And he's just like, it's like really kind of dark, and it's really good because it's conflict. It's got like all this other. And then for some reason, on episode 5, all of a sudden, him and this girl just get together. When I say get together, I mean literally like some guy's trying to kill him. He's like about to die, and then she comes and saves him. He stands up, kisses her. So he kills that guy then, and then he's like now labeled because you get branded a murderer or like a good or like there's like a good level. He gets branded as a bad person, I think. But then they never go back to that point ever again. Kisses her. Next scene is literally them getting married. And then the next few episodes is just them having a honeymoon, getting all romantic. And you're just like, wait, what just happened? You know that scene in The Dressmaker where it turns from like a romantic comedy to like, you know, a drama
When
film?
he dies.
Yeah. It's like that, except not good.
Okay.
You know? And I'm sitting there watching this and I'm like, wait, what? What the fuck's happening? So my partner, Kenji, he's like a bit more like, oh, I'll keep watching, maybe it'll get better or maybe something will happen. He keeps watching, he's like, it kind of gets okay if you just get past the first season. But I'm like, you know what? No. I understand if books, you have to work through the first few pages or something to really get to the good parts of it. Anime, it's different. Like, I don't want to watch a whole fucking first season. That takes time. An anime episode's 20 minutes. A whole season's got like 15 episodes. That's like 5 hours I have to waste just to get to the good parts. I ain't doing that shit. Nah, mate. So I just stopped watching. And then anytime anyone asks me, have you seen Sword Art Online? I'm like, yes, and I hated it. And they're like, what? How? And I'm like, because it's stupid. It's literally stupid. I'm sorry, but like if I have to watch a first full season before I get to a good part, I ain't watching that shit. Fuck off. Anyways, that's just my review on Sword Art Online.
Anyway, your name.
Your name.
Because we're here to talk about anime movies.
Yeah, that's true. We'll do another
We'll do another one about the shows.
where Ren can just
series.
go fanboy on Berserk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For 2 hours. And then you might be able to talk about Sailor Moon, maybe.
I
if
don't
you want.
know. No, man. What would I talk about? I would talk about... I have too many. I don't know. Anyways,
I've got a lot that I've been watching.
Yeah.
Like I've started watching. I haven't finished a lot of them. Some of them I'm like, I get 3 episodes in, I'm like, this is crap.
Yeah. There's a lot of that now.
Yeah.
There's one called like it's like this girl's a centaur or something. It's on Crunchyroll.
Okay.
I cannot even make this up.
Like I've got a lot queued up.
Yeah.
Like Erased.
Erase is good.
Which
Yeah.
I've heard is very good. And like I'm halfway through Trigon or something like that. And I don't know whether I like it yet. I don't know whether like it's good in parts and then other times it drags and I'm going, okay. The whole concept behind it is that he's the $60 billion man. Double dollar, sorry. In this sort of like both post-apocalyptic and Western setting at the same time. It feels like it's everything's gone backwards to the Old West because of some huge problem. And it's not like gone into very much, but he's called Vash the Stampede, and everybody thinks he's this incredibly lethal, bounty hunter? Not bounty hunter, but like outlaw.
Yeah.
And really he's kind of this goofy idiot who fumbles his way through everything. He's actually an incredibly competent gunslinger,
This is like Forrest Gump.
but he doesn't want to kill anyone. That's the whole thing. He tries not to kill.
Okay.
But yeah,
That's weird.
I don't think it's gotten to the big plot parts yet, really.
Yeah. See, with anime, there's like mini kind of sections. What's that called? Arcs. They call them arcs or sagas.
Sagas. So you got the Saiyan
Saga is
the Frieza saga and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that in Dragon Ball. Yeah.
or like arcs. And then you've got the main one in the middle, which is like the finale kind of.
I'm familiar with that mainly through Berserk because they've got very
That's what they do,
distinctive
yeah.
arcs in it. Because the first one's the Black Swordsman arc, which is only 3 volumes,
Yeah.
which is kind of a flash forward.
Yeah.
Then it flashes back to the Golden Age arc, which is what all the anime adaptations are about, except for the most recent one, which sucks. And
Okay.
yeah.
I'm gonna stop you there. We'll save that for another day.
Yeah.
Save that for next fortnight. Your Name. This was you. You just watched it. I watched this around 5-6 months ago.
Yeah,
What did you think?
looks nice. I wouldn't say it's bad.
No.
It's not a bad movie. It's pretty. Yeah, it's good. It's fine.
I wouldn't say it lives up to the hype. For me personally,
I think this is the thing. A lot of anime when people talk about anime, because this was like one of those films that went around like film festivals and everybody's raving about it. And I think it's mainly to do with how it looks rather than what it's about, because I think the story's pretty
meh.
It's been done before.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it in American films, for God's sake. Like The Lake House is the same, almost the same plot.
Time Traveler's Wife.
Time, but it's like time travel, and then you find out one of them died, and then they've got to change it.
Yeah.
And that was not that it's badly done. It drags a little to start with.
It does.
It takes a good half an hour to 40 minutes before the actual plot reveals itself.
Yeah.
Because
it's very predictable because it follows a lot of the stuff that you see in that type of romantic
like,
comedy anime.
I understood what it was about pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And that was within about the first 10 minutes or so. I realised it was like body swap.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily know about the time travel thing immediately, but I had a suspicion that it was probably to do with that. But the reason is because it was so... The direction and how it was told, of like how we were doled out that information, was so odd and all over the place. And it was like, we get this scene like where he's obviously in her body and he's like feeling her up and all sorts of stuff, because he's like, what the fuck is this? You know, why am I a girl, sort of thing. And I was like, okay. And then it's the same on the other side when she wakes up as him.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I get it. And then they have this extended sequence where they're like writing to each other and all sorts of stuff, and they're just like, oh my god, we've switched. But I was like, I know. Okay.
See, that's completely normal. Like in any type
I know
of...
it's normal.
Yeah.
I know it's normal.
The one I remember... Well, I was just telling you before we started recording that there was that red string at the beginning. And I said, when there's a red string, or like... Because it's this red line, because it's this concept of the red line of fate, you know. Doesn't matter. It can be tangled, whatever, but it can't be cut. Whenever you see that, it just means like either time travel or like dimension travel, or some form of like... They're linked, but they cannot be together, but like through odds. Yeah. Yes, so the first thing, because I was watching it with my partner, I always watch all these movies with my partner because I'm a sad person. I was watching it and I was just like, this is about time travel or it's about interdimensional travel, but like I'm pretty sure it's about time travel. And he's like, how would you know? Because he hadn't seen it. And I'm like, trust me, there's that red line. It gonna happen. And guess what? Boom, it fucking happened. Don't doubt me. I kind of got frustrated towards the end because it's kind of like...
I think it took too long to end.
Yeah, it took too long to end, and I kept being like, I don't really know how this will end, and I don't really get what the point is of like... Well, because he wrote I love you on her hand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you could have told her that if you had just written your name, and you could have told her that in person, and like, I understand the whole idea is like, oh, well... They forget, but it's just kind of like infuriating to watch.
It doesn't. I mean, time travel barely ever makes sense in films because it's not possible. To make sense of it. And it's because the whole concept of them actually forgetting each other, why they're going to write each other's names on each other's hands, is because if she fixes the problem and she survives, then their whole body swap thing never happens, and there's no point in it happening, and they've never met in any way.
Also, like.
But if that hasn't happened, then there's no way that she could have saved the town in the first place without him.
Yeah.
So it doesn't...
You're thinking too much into that,
but that's the whole thing. It's like...
Yeah, it never works.
They bring that up as like, oh, they're going to forget each other, but then the whole thing doesn't make sense if that happens.
Yeah. Well, what I don't understand is how could you be trapped in someone else's body but never ever talk about their name? Like...
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing as well.
It's just a bit unrealistic.
I don't understand how he spent time in the town and then had to go looking for it because he didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
When he read all about it earlier.
Yeah, like... Because it was never made clear, like, how much they do forget or what they can remember or what they don't remember. Look, you're right. It's such a beautiful film.
Yeah, like, visually.
It's amazing.
I think it's, like, probably, I would say, well-directed in terms of visuals. Like,
yeah.
I don't think there's anything really wrong with it, like, where people shouldn't enjoy it.
No, because the type of animation is very, like...
It's very pretty.
It's very just kind of, like, light and fun, and it's very pretty. The colours are beautiful.
There are lots of parts where it looks like they shot it with a camera.
Yeah. Whereas if you look like a Studio Ghibli film, the images they're really nice still, but you can tell they're like painted. Whereas this,
But that's fine.
yeah, that's fine. It's just their style.
It's very good. Yeah.
I would say I watched A Silent Voice yesterday for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have high hopes for it because I was like, I watched Your Name and I was like, if it's going to be the same shit, then I'm really not.
Because it's generally classed in the same
Yeah.
category for some reason.
It literally blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was like almost in tears. Didn't cry though. And it was really good. Like, so I'll give you a lowdown of the story because Your Name is pretty much time travel. Guy and girl can't be together. They end up together. She was supposed to die, but she doesn't die because he saves her.
No, she saves her. Or something.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
Silent Voice is pretty much about this kid. He's in like sixth grade.
Yeah.
He's got this class members, and this deaf girl comes into class. So initially, everyone's getting along. She's trying to get along with everyone. And then some people start to resent her. So like the popular girl who sits next to her starts resenting her. And, you know, the teacher kind of resents her because they feel like because she's deaf.
She's just
She's a bit
hindrance.
she's a hindrance, yeah. And then he starts bullying her, and no one really tries to stop her. Everyone kind of thinks it's funny.
Yeah.
And then he does this thing where he keeps pulling out her hearing aids and either throwing them away or breaking them. And so it's brought to the principal's attention, and then he's like, I think so he goes to the class and he's like, I've had this girl's mum call us up and say she's lost 8 hearing aids in the past 6 months.
Yeah.
It's very expensive. What's going on? And then so everyone in the class, including the teacher, kind of goes, well, it was that kid. And then the kid goes, it's not just me. You did this and everyone was like, oh, don't blame me. So you kind of see like in a bullying situation, the different types of like the bystander, which is not the popular girl but another girl, or the accomplice, which is like the guy's friends.
The whole thing is like they let him do it.
They let him do it, and then but there's also the different ways people. This one girl says, "Oh, well, I didn't do anything. I tried to stop you, but she really didn't. She was always like, oh, that's really mean, but she never was like, don't." And then there's the popular girl who keeps bad mouthing her, and she's like, "Well, I was just trying to be her friend," and she's saying that, and then his friends were like, "Oh, well, we tried to stop him," and it's just like this idea of all these other people, and he's getting blamed. So from there on, this girl, the deaf girl, gets transferred out. And then this main protagonist becomes pretty much like the guy who's getting bullied.
Yep.
So he gets bullied all the way up until high school. He becomes this complete outcast.
Yep.
And the film starts off with pretty much him planning to commit suicide.
No.
So I'm not sure if you know about this, but in Japan, honor is a huge thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And like he's pretty much like, he's like, well, I don't have anything going for me. I don't have friends. His mum had to pay back for the hearing aids when he was really young, and that was a lot of money. And he just felt like he shamed them. So he pretty much got to a point where he sold all his items, and you could see him like sell, like there's like warning signs of suicide, which is selling your items, planning like final parties or anything. So he sells all his items. He's like ripped off the calendar to just the day he's going to die. And his mum finds out and pretty much goes, if you do this, I will never ever forgive you. And she gets really angry. So he decides not to, and then instead goes and returns this book to the deaf girl. He finds where she's going to school and she gives it back to her. And then like pretty much they become kind of friends. And at one point, like, he slowly tries to like open up, because the whole film is done in the sense that when he looks at people, there's a giant cross over their faces. He's like, I don't like to look at people's faces. So all this stuff happens. And then he kind of gathers this group of friends, which is a mixture of like people from primary school and a few new friends as well. And continues forward and blah, blah, blah. Gets to a point where he kind of alienates them again because he feels like he doesn't deserve to be friends. And he's just friends with this deaf girl. And he's like, I'm not doing it. And people keep thinking he's doing it for pity. And he's like, I'm not. I genuinely like hanging out with this girl. I think she's a really good person. I feel like I was wrong to be rude to her. And I'm just trying to be friends with her because I like her. And then, so the film kind of goes to this climactic point where they're watching fireworks at this festival, and during the fireworks, she goes, "Okay, well, I have to go home." And he's like, "Well, the show's not over." And she's like, "Oh, I've got some schoolwork. Talk to you later." Walks away, and then the girl's sister comes up, and she's like, "Oh, actually, can you go with her? I need my camera, and that's at home." Guy goes in, looking for the camera, and he's like, "Oh, the house is super dark." And he looks up, and she's standing on the balcony, and she's about to jump and commit suicide. So he runs up, obviously saves her, but in the process of saving her, he falls off the balcony and he's in the hospital in a coma. And so it's kind of like this reverse role where at the very beginning, you see his mum apologizing to the girl's mum, and now like the girl's mum's like super upset and apologizing to his mum because he obviously he's in a coma. They don't know if he's going to survive. The film pretty much, like, he obviously survives.
Yep.
The film obviously ends, and him and the deaf girl go to this school festival after he's been away, and he kind of makes up with everyone. He's like, I'm really sorry. And everyone goes, you know what? No, it's not your fault. We didn't do the right thing back in the day where you were bullying this girl. We didn't tell you to stop. And, you know, we just had as big of a part in it as you did, but you just got the butt of... And the public girl initially was saying, I hate, like, saying to the deaf girl, I really hate you because I feel like you fucked up everything for everyone. And this deaf girl, like, it's so bad because she always says she's sorry. And then this girl... I can't remember their names really clearly, but this public girl is just like, you're a cancer on our lives and I hate you. And it's really like, it's really dark. I was just like, damn, that's a really crappy thing. That's a really, really horrible thing to say on you're a cancer on our life. But the last scene is him walking through the festival with his friends, and he looks up and like all the cross stickers, they fall off and he's just looking around, and then he just starts crying. And you know, it's a really, really weird scene because the way everything's drawn, everything kind of gets like really cloudy. And then that's how the film ends. And it's really good. I know I'm really bad at explaining it, but it talks about his depression and his like, you know, thoughts. Because anytime he became friends with anyone, he thought to himself, do I deserve to be this happy? And there's a scene where he's like hanging out with all of them, and all of a sudden he stops and he's like, wait, should I be doing this? I don't think I deserve to be doing this. I don't think like I deserve this type of happiness. And same with the deaf girl. She's just pretty much, it shows that she spent her whole life realizing she's a burden and a nuisance on everyone in the world and never really being happy. And it's really sad. And I don't know what else to say about it. It's just a really, I think the reason I liked it was because it talked about mental illness, which is something that isn't really spoken about in Asian cultures. Or I know in Japan, it's kind of like if you fuck up or if you've brought dishonor to your family, suicide is a very common way just to get out of it. Or like there's a lot of those types of things. And like especially like depression, anxiety, stress, a lot of that's really high in those parts. Japan, China, I know Korea, like...
In terms of like Japan's history,
you
know, suicide's a pretty
significant.
couple
Samurais, they used to...
Not just samurai, but like World War II.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we're going to lose this island. Well, we're all going to kill ourselves then, or we're going to run at the enemy.
Yeah.
That was...
It's like for honor.
Yeah.
We will die.
I won't return home a loser.
Yeah. I'd rather die a hero. Yeah.
There's a Clint Eastwood made a good couple of films, Flags of Our Fathers from the American perspective of Iwo Jima, and then he made Letters from Iwo Jima from the Japanese perspective. So it's the same battle but different sides.
Yeah.
Letters from Iwo Jima is all done in Japanese as well, with
Damn.
Japanese actors, and it's all about that because they eventually lost Iwo Jima. The Americans took it, and the films are very different because it's like Letters from Iwo Jima is like the letters sent by school children to the island to support the troops, basically. And it's like, it starts off with Americans, I think years later, discovering the letters on the island.
Yeah.
And like Flags of Our Fathers was more about the American war machine's attitude to the heroes of battle.
Yeah.
And what they had to go through afterwards at home.
Yeah.
Because it's like the battle's already over, kind of. But then it's like several people who were like in this. There's a very famous photo that's been like made into a statue and all that sort of stuff in America, and it's of the American troops raising the flag on Iwo Jima where they're all pushing it.
Yeah.
Very famous photo, and it's like all the guys who were in that photo, only 3 of them made it.
Yeah.
Most of them died on the island. I think one of them by friendly fire from one of the boats off. They bombed it and it exploded and it killed him.
Damn.
And they show, and the way they do it, they go through like all of them and they show all of their deaths, and it's like the most
horrible thing.
It's like, no, it's like so sudden and like very, it's not heroic. It's not like
No.
a blaze of glory. It's just like, oh, dead.
Yeah.
And then it's like 3 of them went home. One of them became like an alcoholic, and like 2 of them, it's like, it was basically like, because they had to be like these images for everybody to keep going.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, that was interesting.
Well, that's what they say about war, because, like, what was it? I think people, like, in films, they make it look like, oh, you're this huge hero, as like superhero, and then, like, war's really not like that. It's quite horrible. Well, that was that was
Anyway,
depressing.
So,
yeah, well, that's a silent
Silent
voice.
Voice.
It's a lot better. I'd say it trumps Your Name by, like, 1,000 miles. Your Name...
I think Your Name's more commercial.
Your Name is very much a disappointment. I would not put Your Name above any of Studio Ghibli's films.
No.
No. I think it's very pretty, and that's only the real wow factor about it. The story, everything else is kind of like, okay, you're cute. You're cute. You're not super special, though. But I think Silent Voice is worth watching. I initially thought it was just literally going to be like, oh, guy bullies girl. They grow up. She gets pretty. He falls in love with her, and then he tries to win her back.
I knew it was to do with her deafness, her disability.
Yeah. I didn't realize how much it would talk about dealing with mental health and depression. Because, he's literally, there's this one scene where he knows he's being a dick, but he just feels like he cannot be friends with these people because he doesn't deserve to be friends. So he drives them away on purpose. And it was like so frustrating, but at the same time, like, oh, relatable. You're high. It's like not high school drama, but stuff that possibly happened to me or a friend or something. Like, you can understand something like that happening. I don't know. I think everyone, because everyone was talking to me about it, and everyone was saying it's really good, and I kind of was like, it's a rom-com, but it's really not a rom-com. It's more of a slice of life drama
It's got a
kind
bit
of.
of drama to it, yeah.
Yeah. Watch it if you get the chance.
Yeah,
it is
I will.
Probably, it's worth watching more than Your Name.
I'll probably watch it and then say what I thought about it when we do our
Yeah.
proper anime episode.
We'll do a TV show one.
Yeah, we will.
So all the other ones I want to talk about were
Basically the same director.
not necessarily.
Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Wolf Children are directed by the same guy.
Yeah, and then
He also did The Boy and the Beast.
Boy and the Beast.
Summer Wars, which I
haven't seen
know
Summer.
about.
I know Boy and the Beast. I didn't get to watch that. Girl Who Leapt Through Time. I think he did them in different studios, didn't he?
I have no idea.
Because Wolf Children is one particular studio that did Boy and the Beast. So those two are like from the same place. I think Girl Who Leapt Through Time was the first big anime film I watched.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, I was only watching like anime TV series, films related to anime TV series. So this one was the first independent film I watched. I don't want to ruin it for you, but pretty much what happens is this girl, she's like going through her everyday life, and she wakes up this one day and she's going through, and pretty much it's the day of her death, but then somehow she avoids it by traveling through time.
Okay.
And then she goes on this journey to find out how she's doing it. But it's like the comment, like, oh, she abuses the power and all that stuff. Yeah. And then at the end, you find out, like, how she's been able to do it and all this stuff. I wouldn't say it's, like, amazing, but I'd say it's, like, a pretty good watch. And
well, it's got a good reputation.
Yeah, it's good. I enjoyed it. I'd still say it's better than Your Name because it has, like, more interesting factors.
It's funny, like, Girl Who Leapt Through Time's like one of those ones that I don't know whether it's considered I think it's considered sort of a classic now.
Yeah.
Because I see it or hear about it all the time in that circle of anime film people who talk about it. It's very
well, I just saw it at the
well-regarded.
store because I was looking around in the anime section at JB and I was just like, ooh, haven't seen you before. And then I went home and watched it and it was pretty good. Wolf Children is...
I've seen the trailer for it, but
is weird. It's weird, but also emotional.
It's about a kind of Beauty and the Beast story.
Kind of.
Where she has 2 kids and he dies.
Yeah, so...
And
there's a weird scene, though. I have to let you know, there's a weird scene where they're getting intimate.
Yeah.
And he may or may not turn into a wolf halfway through.
Okay.
And it's a bit weird.
Kind of odd.
And odd. It's not, like, creepy. It's done in actually quite a romantic way. Mm-hmm. It's just if you think about it from a logical way, you're just like
weirdly bestiality.
This is kind of is this bestiality because this guy can technically turn between.
You know, put it this way: the best picture this year was a film where a woman fucks a fish.
Yeah, well, Shape of Water. I really want to see that now. Do you know there was a review and it was like some guy gave it 1 star and the caption was, "I didn't even see its dick."
If you don't get to see the fish's dick. Yeah, I saw that. You showed me that.
Yeah, it was so funny.
I've seen it.
Is it good?
I didn't like it.
Oh.
I thought. Here's the thing. I wish people would keep politics out of movies
Yeah, me too.
because it's obviously political to me.
Mm-mm.
Because the team that breaks him out, like it's about outliers, right?
Yeah.
In society, pretty much. Like you've got a black woman in the 50s, obviously. You've got a mute woman who's sign language. She fucks a mute fish monster.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like that was the weird bit. I was like, you realize that's the weird part. Like I don't have a problem with her being mute, but that's who fucks animals. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, is it really an animal? Like, isn't it like some half human, half fish?
It's a creature that we don't know. And I know it's supposed to represent, like, the unknown. Like, our fear of it. And then she kind of embraces it because she's a bit odd. But...
She fucks it, that's what she does.
And, like, then there's... is it Richard Jenkins, I think. His role, he's a gay painter. And, yeah, he's a bit of an outlier because of that. And then you've got another guy who works as... I think he's a scientist, I can't remember. He's a closet communist.
Okay.
And that was the bit that I was like, okay.
Okay. And
then all the bad guys are like in other people obviously keeping him locked up. It was like Michael Shannon, who's like this. And this is the problem that I have with it. It's like he's predicted as a crazy, over the top, like Christian guy. He's got a perfectly normal family at home.
Yeah.
And he just like rants about America, and I'm like, this doesn't feel real. Like everybody feels real except for him. He seems like a cartoon character, and he seems so obviously motivated by we're going to be anti-establishment. I'm like, okay, but
anti-establishment terrorism.
Yeah, but it's just it seems ridiculous to me, and I mean it's obvious why Hollywood would give it that honor, because I don't think it's good enough. I think there were other films that were better. I think that
I hate it when they try to do like metaphorical politics, like this is a representation of this, and this is supposed to mean this, and it annoys me a little. I mean, if you do it in a really good way, I'll accept it.
The thing is that it's unsubtle.
Yeah,
it's obvious to me that it's not just about the film and the story; it's about more than that. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
I don't care about your views.
I was
Del
actually
Toro.
thinking about this. What film was it that was? I think.
Here's the thing, though, as well. Like, I don't think Del Toro is getting better as a filmmaker. Like, visually, he's still fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, visually, Shape of Water looks great, but I don't think his stories are getting better. I think they're getting worse. Like,
Probably.
Pacific Rim.
What's it called?
Pan's Labyrinth will never. He hasn't outdone himself. Pan's Labyrinth was the best thing he's done.
He's what's the word? Oh my god, I had this word that I used to describe these types of situations where they're like not dying out, but like drying up in terms of...
I think he's coasting on his success of Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
And stuff like Hellboy and all that sort of stuff. Like,
well, I think a lot of directors get to a point where they don't care anymore. They're like, okay, we've done what we needed to do.
He's made 3 films that are pretty good, but they've all got very similar themes and plots and stuff like. So you've got Kronos, which is one of his earlier films with Ron Perlman, and it was about vampires, but it was like a little girl and her grandfather's a vampire, and it's like this device that hooks onto you, and when it bites you, you turn into one. It's a bit different, like a bit unusual. I wouldn't say it's great, but it's good. Then he made The Devil's Backbone, which is pretty much what I would call it's like Pan's Labyrinth.
Before Pan's Labyrinth.
Before Pan's Labyrinth, because it's about an orphanage.
Yeah.
I think he also made the film The Orphanage, but it's about an orphanage in, I think, Spain. I can't remember if it was Spain or Mexico.
One of those areas.
I think it was Spain. And it's like there was a boy who was thrown down the well a very long time ago, and he died, and his ghost is in it, and it was all, but it was very much like Pan's Labyrinth. It felt the same sort of way, because like another little kid investigating this whole world. Yeah. Then you got Pan's Labyrinth, which is like
Pan's Labyrinth freaking was scary though.
Oh, it's got scary parts, but then it was like the interesting thing about it is like she's seeing all this fantastical stuff, and then at the end it turns out it's all in her head, and she's just coping with the fact that she lives in this dictatorship and her father's a psychopath and all that sort of stuff.
It was all a dream.
But it didn't feel
I feel like that's what stemmed like so many creepypastas.
it was all a dream.
Yeah. Well, don't you know like the creep about like Pokemon where Ash is in a coma?
Yeah.
And Pikachu's supposed to represent his like good side of morality.
And then there's the SpongeBob one. It's supposed to be the Bikini Atoll nuclear site, and all of the creatures are just mutated.
Yeah.
from
Or
the
like
nuclear.
the Rugrats one where it was everyone's Angelica's dream. So, like Tommy was never born, and then Chucky's dad's an alcoholic, and then because you know the twins, it's because they miscarried and they didn't know if it was a boy or girl, so that's why it's twins.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's just you could make all that stuff up.
yeah,
But you know, who cares?
so weird. Anyways, back to anime.
So yeah, the other film I watched specifically for this because I had to do something that wasn't The Girl Who Leapt Through Time.
Yeah.
Was Paprika, which is I think people got a lot more interested in it after 2010 when Inception became a thing because it's one of the inspirations behind Inception about dreams and dream machines and going into dreams and stuff like that. It's insanely well animated.
Oh, wow.
Like it's really good, but I like Inception more, and only because I think Paprika's a bit more. It's a bit more about like what you make of it more than
Avant-garde.
a little bit.
A bit more, okay.
Because it's by Satoshi Kon, who's known for his sort of explorations into like alternate personalities and alternate ways of living. That, like you know, you could be living in two ways at once.
Do you know what? Sorry, you know, you go. Sorry.
I've seen his earlier film Perfect Blue, which is about a woman's persona taking over her life because she's a pop star. And it's like she's very normal at her pop, but then you've got her persona, her like pop star image,
Yeah.
and it starts fucking up her life, and like
Yeah.
it takes over, and it actually like materializes itself as like another person almost.
Oh.
And it's very, as I was saying before, we started this. Darren Aronofsky's used it a couple of times as obvious inspirations for his films, like Black Swan is one of them, and the other one is Requiem for a Dream. There's specific visuals that he used which are identical, and one of them is Jennifer Connelly in the bath. She's like curled up in the fetal position underwater, and then she screams, which is exactly what happens in Perfect Blue, the same image. I think he actually had to get rights to Perfect Blue to make that scene. I've heard that. I don't know whether it's true.
Because you saying that reminds me of it's not like was it? Because a lot of animes, there's a movie version and there's a television series like Clannad and all that. But I was watching this one. It's called it's not very well known. It's called Black Rock Shooter.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's pretty much talking about there are these girls and they go to school and they're normal, and then there's an alternate reality where all of them are like fighters or like, and if you die or if you lose a battle in them, you lose your memories.
Okay.
And it's kind of weird because you're like, this doesn't really make any sense because one of the girls loses her memories of everything, but then I'm like, how is this kind of like, how does that work? Do people just forget?
Yeah.
And then at the end they like realize there's this alternate reality, and I have not seen it. Like last time I watched it was literally, I want to say five years ago was last time I watched it. So it's been a long time, but pretty much that's the idea behind it. It's like they're all like normal schoolgirls, but in the alternate dimension they're like these huge either crazy fighters or villains or whatever. Yeah.
So Paprika is about basically like some sort of psychological association which has developed these dream machines for therapy purposes. And the film opens with a therapy session underway with a detective, for like a detective who's got some problems, obviously, and it's his dream, which is like why the whole sequence is a bit odd. It feels a bit strange, and that's the point. It starts off in a circus, like he's looking for somebody in the crowd, like he's like and he's like talking to different things. Like there's a guy who walks past with his daughter on his back, and she's got like a clown mask, like sitting on the back, like she's just pulled it back to like rest there, and the mask talks to him like about I've been scoping out the place and all that sort of stuff, and then it's just like, why does the ringleader keep looking at you? Oh, he's a friend of mine, you know, that sort of stuff. And it's like all this weird stuff, and then it's like the spotlight shines on him. And then the ringleader goes 1, 2, 3, and like drops this cloth, and then suddenly the detective's inside the cage, and then where he was, there's another person standing in his suit pointing at him, and then all of the like members of the crowd.
It's giving me brain hurt. You saying
all,
this?
all like the members of these different members of the crowd run at him with his face and like start to try and claw at him. And then he falls through the ground and like it's just like it's like a dream. It's weird, and it's like obviously things in his head that are troubling him.
Like people clawing at his face while wearing his face.
Well, it's got an interest. It comes together at the end because he's like a separate plot. He's like a B plot running along the side because there's this whole thing of like. So you got Paprika, who is this woman who sort of lives exclusively in the dreams, and it's never really told to you exactly how she came to be that way or like why she's
that's a lot
there.
of animes that you just.
Well,
skip
yeah, I know.
through and you're
Why
like,
she's
okay,
there? Like,
this is life now.
because she seems to be. So there's a woman in the real world who's actually the psychologist, psychoanalyst, or whatever like that, who does a lot of stuff with the therapy. When she goes in, Paprika turns up. And there's an interesting sequence at the end where it's like one of her co-workers is in the dream. He's obviously like attracted to her, but not Paprika, but the real woman. So what he does, he like puts his hand through her and like goes up her body, and you can see like his hand there.
Ugh,
And
no,
then-
don't say that. Ugh.
And then he like pulls his hand out, and the skin of Paprika opens up, and she's inside.
The
unconscious.
fuck.
Like it's got some really
Okay.
trippy imagery. It's really well done.
Oh, that makes my skin crawl. Okay.
But my thought of it, it's
Wait.
never confirmed.
I need to pee. Sorry.
Anyways,
Paprika.
yes.
So the weird scene with the hand.
Yeah, so
And
I
then
mean,
the-
I should explain it. It's about. It's like they've got this one therapy machine, and it's like they have to put the patient down. They put him in this like headgear thing, and they go to sleep pretty much. And then the psychologist sort of, or whoever's doing the therapy, joins them
In their
in
dream.
their dream to like analyze what's wrong and where the problem is, like why they're having like anxiety or whatever like that, and whether there's a cause to it. And obviously, they get to the root of the problem that way. And you know, same sort of concept as Inception, only
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
trying to give him an idea through his past traumas and problems.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of unclear sometimes where reality ends and the dream begins, and that gets. So what it is, it's basically about like a dream terrorist, almost, because they start off with these
Yeah.
big machines, and then it's like they get a mini one, which is
Yeah.
basically like a headband. You put it on,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
it's like
yeah.
tiny. Developed by this big fat guy who's like the genius who created them in the first place, and he hasn't got it to the stage where it's like, I'm going to put protections on it yet. Like he's just got the prototype pretty much,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
it's about to be finished.
Okay.
But somebody steals one of the prototypes,
Nice.
and
course they do.
it doesn't have any safety protocols, so it's like they can just enter anybody's dream and fuck
Damn,
with
what
them.
the fuck?
So it's like this collective dream that gets out of control and just gets transferred from person to person, drives people nuts, including like the chief of their department and stuff like that. And they're trying to work out whose dream it is and how they're going to trace it back.
Is this a film?
Yeah, this is the
Damn. Okay.
Paprika film.
That's a lot.
It gets complicated and it's very unusual, and I still don't quite know whether I really like it because it's not like a clear cut thing like Inception about like where it starts and ends and like how the film ends, and it leaves you with a bit of a question. But you know, you're like, okay, it could be one thing or the other. You're like, I don't know.
It's like, is this the end?
It gets so Paprika gets so weird in
Yeah.
parts that it's like, okay, I don't know what. You're not always sure what they're trying to do. Like I get what the point, because I'll kind of spoil it.
Yeah.
The guy who set this all off is the chairman of their whole company. He's a
Yeah.
guy in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Goes around in this wheelchair, and he's like kind of a bit weird and mysterious. All of the people who are connected with the collective dream that's fucking with people that could eventually like run rampant in society and just turn everybody insane. It's the reason why they unleash it in the first place is because they want to have complete control over this like alternate reality almost
Yeah.
of dreams.
Yeah.
Reason being is because they've all seemed to have serious inadequacies in real life.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
okay. So
he's
like
in a wheelchair.
wheelchair.
The assistant to the guy who created it is also part of it. And it's still unclear by the end, like whether he became involved on purpose or whether he was just a puppet. But he's kind of living in the shadow of this genius. You got this other guy who's kind of like, you know, he's quite sure of himself. He's a bit arrogant and stuff like that. He becomes like the henchman to the chairman in and outside the dream because, and it's clearly because like he's in love with the lead character, the woman who's also Paprika in the dream. He wants her, but she's not interested in him. So if he could live in this dream world where he has her or can easily have access to her because he's in control, then that's why he joins up, sort of thing.
That's the most terrifying form of love, obsessive love.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that, which is what leads to that weird scene. Like the scene actually starts with her like a butterfly pinned to the table with their wings.
Yeah.
And then he like opens her up like a cocoon almost, and then she's inside. Almost like
this
that.
is
That's
weird.
yeah.
Okay.
So
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
This, but that's weird. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. And so they never tell you where exactly Paprika came from. They act like she was discovered a while ago, like she's like a special like dream person.
Dream butterfly.
Who goes
Although
around.
butterflies are a huge thing, they're always associated with dreams.
Yeah.
So whenever like you see like a sequence, there's always, it's so weird. Like it's just a very common thing that you have in everything.
That's fine. But yeah, she changes form. She does all sorts of things, and she seems to be like in control when she's in the dream. In fact, she like it's like her as a dream woman who does this is almost like running unauthorized therapy sessions on the side.
Yeah.
With people, which is how the detective gets into the whole plot.
Yeah.
As well. His plot's interesting to me because it makes more clear-cut sense about why he's in the dream, like what he does and how his thinking and how it gets resolved at the end. It's kind of interesting. It's to do with the fact that he like wanted to be a filmmaker when he was young. He made a film in college with a friend, and he sees the film that he made in his dream, which was him pretending to be a detective chasing somebody. That was just the short film that he made with his friend.
Yeah.
You never see the friend's face.
Yeah.
And in the dream, it's like he's looking for someone and chasing them.
Okay.
And then he sees, like, his latest case, he sees the murder victim, like, falling in slow motion, like, after being shot in the back. And then he sees this figure, like, running away from it. And then, like, later on in the film, it's like he runs into the hallway, he shoots this guy in the back. It falls exactly like his murder victim. And it's him.
Oh.
He's the victim. And then he runs past, and then he turns back and he sees himself running through the door chasing after himself as well. Like, it's weird stuff like this, and then it's like all to do with his friend and like how he tried to become, because he couldn't go to film school, and his friend who did go to film school died before he could do anything. He became the detective in the film almost, like to make up for it.
Okay.
And it's like all this other, it's interesting like
Sounds
that.
complicated. I want to watch it now.
And yeah, it does get weird, and I like some of it. I don't know how it logically doesn't work to me. Like how the whole dream thing gets resolved doesn't quite make sense to me.
Anime, there's always plot holes. Like,
Oh yeah, sure.
a really good anime is one where the writer, even though it's like kind of a half-ass like they tie up all the loose ends. But most animes, like when I'm watching them, I'm like, gee, but we never came back to that, or this doesn't make sense, or what does that mean, or what? And then most of the time, if it's like based off a manga, you have to go back and read the manga for them to really tell you what's going on.
Story of my life with Berserk. Yeah, so that it's a very well regarded film, Paprika. Like, and I think Satoshi Kon, I think he's dead as well, and he's considered kind of a bit of a legend from his films, like the way he used to animate them. Paprika is really interesting because lots of the scene transitions are like one shot. They go into the next bit.
Oh yeah.
Like, and they're very well done. Like, there's even a bit where they're looking through the guy, the creator's right-hand man, who ends up being one of the first ones to be discovered in the dream to be nuts. They go to his apartment, they find like all these weird dolls everywhere and stuff like that, but then she goes into his bedroom or something like that, and she's looking around. Then she goes down a ladder, and it's like it almost turns into a dream, and she's not quite sure what's happening. And she's going through like a playground, sort of, not a playground, but like a fair, and she sees a doll with his face, like waving at her. So she goes to check it out, and she jumps over this railing, and then as she's jumping, it's like the whole environment's like a piece of cloth and it gets pulled down with her movement. And then she's jumping off a balcony and she's like, what the fuck? And that's the real world. It's actually made her jump off, and then a guy behind her grabs her and stops her from falling.
Oh my god.
So it's,
I like that. I'd watch that.
it's very well done.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'd absolutely love it or anything, but I think it's good.
Yeah.
It's an interesting
idea
piece of
is
work.
pretty
And
good,
and the
yeah.
themes and the ideas and stuff are pretty interesting.
Okay.
So that was what I watched to replace The Girl Who Leapt Through Time because couldn't find it
Yeah.
to look at it.
What was the other film? Apart from Wolf Children, Girl
Wolf
Left Through
Children,
Time,
yeah.
Spirited Away, Silent Voice, You Want It. I think those were it. Those are the ones I
They were pretty much the ones
recommended.
we listed that we were going to watch.
Yeah. That I watched and you didn't.
Hey, I watched Your Name. That was it.
Why? I actually, when you said you watched Your Name, I was like, you watched literally the worst one. like all of the other ones, I feel like have a bit something special to them, whereas Your Name, I think, doesn't. Like, it's just a very generic. I probably no hate, man, but like unpopular opinion, I really didn't. I didn't hate it. I just didn't particularly think I would not like watch it again. Or
I might, but mainly for the animation itself.
yeah, but
I mean, you know, my opinion on anime has changed a little bit, only because, I mean, most of the stuff I'd watched up to this point wasn't very good. There were a few that I'd liked, but not that many. Like, and I'd never really looked at manga before, which I find interesting now, only because, I mean, going back to the source material, a lot of the stuff is, I think, kind of more interesting than the anime a lot of the time, because it's one person's vision of what they want out of the story and their exploration of what it is. And, I mean, it just depends on what it is. Like, you know, lots of people know about Akira Toriyama for Dragon Ball and stuff like that, because he's really good at drawing movement and translating that on a page. And, I mean, it's like, I don't know, like, the thing about, like, Studio Ghibli as well, they seem like the most mainstream anime sort of stuff, and I don't know what it is, but maybe that's why their films don't interest me that much, because everybody talks about them all the time, and I feel like I've seen them, in a way.
They're all, I think they're just...
I think they're overhyped a little bit. A little bit.
No, they're very good.
No, I think from an animation perspective, they're good.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have a problem with that. I just think the stories fall flat for me sometimes because they are very straightforward.
I guess, but I think at the end of the day, for me personally, they're like the first people to do this type of... Because, like, there's a lot of anime, but they're the first type to do this type of animation and then this type of storytelling.
No, but what I mean is they bring it to a wider audience because the stories are more palatable.
I guess, but I like Studio Ghibli.
Well, it's like no, I'm not saying.
I know you're not saying, but like I'm like I don't.
But I think that's why I haven't gravitated towards them a lot.
Yeah, I think you should just watch. I think you do need to sit down and watch a few of their good films because
like it's like when people mention Spirited Away to me,
everyone
says this
always
as well.
loves. Yeah.
Everybody's like, it's great, and I'm like,
it's Alice in Wonderland.
It is Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, it is, and it's Japanese.
Spirited Away.
Not that I have a problem with that.
No,
either.
I know, but I think Spirited Away. Spirited Away is one of those films I think is like overhyped because it was like the first to win an Oscar, like first animation.
It was a watershed moment for Japanese anime.
Yeah, but I think as a whole, that studio produces pretty good films.
I kind of look at Studio Ghibli the way I look at the attitude around stuff like Star Wars. I'm like, Star Wars is good. It's like, it's not worthy of an Oscar, right? Like, I'm like, it's good, it's fun.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wouldn't say it's like absolute masterpiece cinema all the time. I just enjoy it. I'm like, the same I would say about Studio Ghibli. I'd say probably there's more artistry in their actual visuals.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes the stories are a bit, not bad, but I'm just like, okay. So I feel like everybody raves about them so much. That's the problem. Everybody raves about them all the time, and then I watch them and I'm like,
how many have you watched though? You've watched
3.
Yeah, you haven't
I've
watched
3.
I know, but there's like they've made so many. You need to watch like Tales of Earthsea. Actually, that's not really not their best, but Tales of Earthsea is really good. And then
Howl's Moving Castle, everybody mentions as well.
Everyone loves Howl's Moving Castle. I know it is very good. You also need to watch. I think
actually it's funny because the one I'm most interested in seeing is like the one that people don't. I wouldn't say don't like, but it was The Wind Rises, and I think that's only
I
because
like
of
Wind
my own.
Rises. Wind Rises, Poppy on a Hill,
Mm-hmm.
Secret Life of Ariadne. That one I'm a bit like, this is just The Borrowers. But it's cute. Like, it's a cute film. Take into account the demographic for Studio Ghibli is different as well.
But that's what I
It's
mean.
for kids.
Yeah.
Spirited Away was one that's, like, I think was a little bit more adult, which is why...
I'll put
Same
it,
with House Moving Castle.
The reason why I'm putting it this way is, like, the reason why Ghibli, I think, is so well regarded is because anime is a difficult thing to get into if you're really unfamiliar with it.
Yeah.
And Ghibli's a good starting point to get into it, because it's like, you look at like all the classic films that people mention about anime, they're really tough to just go in blind. It's like somebody going, I'm interested in having a look at anime. I'm like, oh, okay, here's Akira.
No.
And I'm like, fuck no. I'm like, it's like one of the old classics that everybody knows about, but it's like, you do not watch that first.
Well, that's the thing.
Because
It's like,
too weird.
for me as a kid, Spirited Away was one of the first animated films I watched. And, you know, back then, it's like the Japanese Disney.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, like, it's not... I know what you mean when you say, oh, the stories are kind of, like, blur and, you know...
I'm not saying that, but they're standard.
Yeah, they're standard. But it's just kind of that nostalgia factor.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I went to the Studio Ghibli Museum not this year. It was not last year, the year before. So back in 2016. And I went through the museum and, like, everything was incredibly overpriced. But... we got to go through this area where they showed, like, people who had done paintings and stuff. And there is a lot, especially in the older films, like My Neighbor Totoro, every scene was hand-drawn.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I think, for me, just the artistic side of it.
Yeah.
Like, the stories, I can't say, no, it's not true. The stories are really good. I think they're just more leaning towards kids. But,
of course.
you know, there's a lot of nostalgia factor in there for people. And I think, yeah, you're right. They are more palatable for people, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But if you're like wanting to really, really go deep into anime and film and animation, you start with them and you go forward from there.
Yeah, you
wouldn't
start
really
with Spirited Away easy.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Like I don't...
Spirited Away is the most like Australian, no, like westernized version. But like Tales of Earthseas, if someone was to try and watch that, they'd just be like, what the fuck is going on? But I'm watching it and I'm like, this kind of makes no sense, but I'm kind of enjoying it, so it's fine.
Even Princess Mononoke is a bit difficult sometimes.
Yeah, that could be difficult as well.
That I found really jarring, because I was like, I don't know who this is aimed at, because it's like people get decapitated and stuff in it, like, and it's not really violent, like it's not bloody, but it still happens, and it was weird at times. It's like, okay,
so it's like this, because as I said, Miyazaki was an environmentalist, so a lot of his film was based on preservation.
That really comes across in that film.
Yeah, and then also
like nature takes over. Yeah, in that film.
And then a lot of the other films, he has a huge thing where he doesn't want his characters to be good and evil. He often wants them to just have their own agendas.
No, that's fine.
So like, Princess Mononoke, like there's obviously like the Iron Lady, cannot remember, Eboshi. And she's technically not a villain because she's obviously trying to protect her people. And at the same time, she's the villain of the story. So
she's the one who's got all the weapons.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a lot of his films are like that. There's no clear villain. There's just people and their own agendas. And he's a pacifist. He's like anti-violence. He's a bit of a weird person, isn't he? Now you think about it.
Yeah, I mean that's. I don't need to know about the creators that much to like something. That's fine. I don't really. He has his own opinions. It's fine. I don't really mind. Like that's his business.
Yeah.
And if his films are good, then there's no reason he shouldn't be a success.
Anyways, how long are we going for?
Like about an hour.
Okay. Should we finish up here?
I don't know. Is there anything else you want to mention? I mean, I would mention other films I've seen. The problem is that other films I've seen connected to shows.
Yeah.
Like the Cowboy Bebop film.
Yeah.
And the Berserk trilogy.
I haven't really watched... What? No, I've only been watching anime series.
We can mention the ones we've watched so we can...
Like Assassination Classroom is one I really like to watch. It literally is like the most unrealistic show ever because you have a bunch of 15-year-olds as assassins. I've been watching Car Captors, The Clear Card, but I think I told you this already. I kind of fell down a different hole this week, though. I fell down like the Blake Edwards hole. The director. Victoria. My sister Eileen. And then I may or may not have fallen down the Audrey Hepburn hole as well.
Yep.
I watched Sabrina for like the 20th time this year. Such a good film. Also watched Breakfast at Tiffany's. Oh, I love Breakfast. It's like, I know it's racist, but it's like one of my
Only Mickey Rooney's character.
Yeah, but I love that film
The
so
film's
much.
great.
I love Audrey Hepburn. I wish she was alive. I would love to meet her. No, she's like my OG idol, man. Like,
yeah, she's good.
so, and then I downloaded I downloaded Cleopatra. I need to watch that. I watched Gone with the Wind. I fucking love Gone with the Wind. It was one of like the first films I ever. No, I wouldn't say the first films I ever watched, but after I got through my like childhood films, it was like one of the first big films I watched because I watched it when I was like 8 or 9, and it was the first film where I watched and I was like, damn, this is real shit, man. Fuck, I've been missing out. That was because my mum loved Clark Gable, I think that's his name.
Yep.
And she was like, oh my God, he's like a really nice actor. And then she's like, I also really like Vivian Lee. And so I was watching this film. Imagine just 8-year-old Linda, not knowing a thing in the world, watching Gone with the Wind, like really not understanding what the film was because it was about Civil War and all that.
About Civil War,
yeah, so I'm just like, I think these people are fighting. And then she's going. So I went back and watched it again today after I haven't watched it in a few years. Not today.
It's a long movie.
It is. It's 3 hours.
I thought it was more than that.
3 and a bit hours.
Yeah.
Almost 4. I watched it again and I was like, man. And Kenji was kind of getting upset because he's like, gosh, she's so annoying. And I'm like, hey.
Scarlett,
Yeah. I'm like, if you had been through that, that would fuck you up too. God damn it. Your freaking cousin. You're like the supposed love of your life being married off to this girl who's like the nicest person ever. And then you having to see these dying people in war and being... I was like, that would fuck you up too. So it's not her fault. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed that. And then I've been just watching other black and white films and old school films. I love To Kill a Mockingbird. Both book and film.
Everybody loves that.
It's so good. It just and do you know what really disappoints me is that some people will never enjoy it because they're just like, well, it's black and white and I don't like it. And I'm like, just like, I love Gregory Peck.
Yeah, it's great.
He's amazing. You know what happened? What happened to film?
Yeah, got shit.
Just, it's so disappointing because I watch old school films and I'm like, this is so good. What happened to us?
All culture's gone downhill in the last 60 years. Music's gotten worse. Film's gotten worse. TV's gotten better.
TV has gotten better. That's the only benefit. TV got better. That's about it. Yeah. It just makes me so sad because I watch Marvel or whatever and I'll be like, yeah, this is great, and then I'll watch Gone with the Wind, or I'll watch Victor Victoria, I think that's what it's called, or I'll watch whatever Lubitsch made, or The Merry Widow. I love The Merry Widow, My Fair Lady. God, I'll watch one of those films and I'll just be like, where did we go wrong?
Yeah,
where did we go wrong, guys?
Because they weren't what's this product? What are we? They were just like, no, let's make an entertaining film, motion picture.
I know.
Who have we got that's really talented and can actually either dance, sing,
Casablanca, man. Sorry, it's just
that's an interesting story.
Yeah.
As far as behind the scenes and that, because they were still writing as they were shooting it.
Really?
They didn't know how it ended, so fuck.
It's he just leaves out. I don't know.
So it's I was watching an old thing with Ingrid Bergman, talking to. I think she was on the Michael Parkinson show back in the 70s. And she was talking about Casablanca, and they were just they didn't know how to end it, so she had to play scenes when she was in love with Bogart and the other guy, and she had to make it in the middle because they didn't know who she was going to leave with and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, yesterday we were playing Heads Up. And I'm not sure if you get the Ellen DeGeneres game, and we did film, and Casablanca came up, and I was like, oh, it's the film where he leaves her, and she goes on a plane in Paris.
Play it again, Sam.
Yeah, and then it's got what's his name, Humphrey Bogart. It's a classic, and everyone's looking at me like I've grown a third head, and I'm like, how do people not know this? Come on.
Shit.
I know, but
that's what happens when it's isn't Black Panther a great movie? I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's not a great movie though.
It's never gonna be as good as the classics. It's It's like this golden age of Hollywood that was really good.
Because I never feel like with any of those old films, or even like films from the 60s, 70s, and even the 80s, it's like never like they're talking down like this is an issue that we need to talk about, or it's not like
We're just here for entertainment.
or it's not like, oh,
Yeah.
we're going to sell products off this. It's like we just made a film. Like I get that like really experimental, like let's throw everything at the wall in
Yeah.
the 80s when it
Yeah.
was like, oh, Ghostbusters comes out. Fuck, is this going to work?
Yeah.
Terminator comes out. I don't know.
Yeah,
Fuck
yeah,
it. Let's
yeah.
just do. The 80s were great
I
for like
know.
blockbuster entertainment films.
I
I mean, you know,
God, I'm
you
depressed.
don't have directors like Hitchcock anymore or anything like that, and yeah, it's and then you also see like lots of old actors from like that period who are still going today, and you're going, they're in such crap now.
I know.
Like,
How the mighty have fallen.
you just look at De Niro's career now. He was in
Is-
like masterpieces.
Yeah. Is Al Pacino still alive?
Yes, he's still
Okay,
alive.
cool. Good.
There-
I haven't
one-
seen him in anything in ages.
One thing I have hope for is that Scorsese's making The Irishman about Jimmy Hoffa, which is a gangster film, and it's got Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Harvey Keitel, like all of the actors who he pretty much like. Most of them. Al Pacino
Yeah.
was made more by The Godfather
Yeah.
than anything else, but all of the actors he used to work with in gangster films and stuff like that, people he started off with in like Mean Streets in the early 70s, and he's putting them all in another film, a gangster film now, and that's going to be released on Netflix apparently.
Ooh, I'll watch
So
that.
yeah, I'm going to be watching that when it comes out. They're shooting it now,
Yeah.
so I'm interested in seeing that. But yeah, like Scorsese's never gotten. I don't think he's ever made a bad movie, and he still makes them. And I think he's in his 80s. It's great.
Big shoes to fill.
Yeah. Anyway,
Anyways.
so anime for the next. I don't know whether it'll be the next episode. Will it be the
No,
next
we might do
episode?
it. We might do an episode in the future about anime TV shows and the ones we like. But for
Like,
now,
I'm trying to catch up so that we can actually talk about them.
yeah, I know.
So
You're
I'm
way behind.
I am.
But I'm really bad because the last time I watched like a proper anime show was I went through the whole thing. I went through like anime shows, and then I went through like Korean dramas, Asian dramas in general, and now I'm kind of like in that in between where I'm like I only watch what's quality, which is like
good shit.
one in every 1,000. But like, thing is, it's hard. I've said this once. It's hard for me to get into really dark shows or like really really dense shows like Berserk or Game of Thrones. I think it's different for you. You enjoy that, but for me, I'm like because when I invest, I'm like in there. So like, which is why like I watched Food Wars and I literally finished like the whole thing in like
So did I.
2 weeks, and I'm just like fuck.
That's what I did with Food Wars. I did.
Yeah, no.
I had it. So I was watching on Anime Lab.
Yeah.
I watched the first 2 seasons, and then I signed up for Crunchyroll just to watch the third season.
It's
Pretty much. But then I'm going to stay on Crunchyroll because they've got
Crunchyroll's better.
a whole bunch of other shows.
Yeah.
I've started watching because I was like, I've got to stray away from just these sorts of things
Yeah.
as well and do some other stuff. So I've started watching Yuri on Ice.
Is it good?
It's not bad.
You should watch Madoka Magic Girl. I haven't seen it. I just know it gets fucked up. But it looks really cute, and it's like, no, fuck you. Because something happens at the end. I've only read about this. That's the thing. Yeah, something happens at the end where it's like a paradox, and she's forced to like
Choose something.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Like I think I'm actually like hesitant to recommend something like Berserk to you, only because like
It'll mess me up probably.
no, well, I mean
Like-
you already know what happens
Yeah.
in the Golden Age arc
Yeah.
of the story, and I'm reading the manga at the moment. I'm
Yeah.
like getting volumes as
Yeah.
I go. I've read 12 of them, and the 12th volume is where the eclipse starts, and it ends in the 13th. And I think the Golden Age arc is officially over in the 14th, and then it
Okay.
starts one called the Conviction arc, which is
Yeah.
a separate. I kind of know where the story is now, currently, like up to date, because Mura's been the guy who
Yeah.
created the whole thing. Because he goes on such frequent hiatuses, but he's currently doing more,
How old is
more
he?
chapters. 50 something.
Okay, so he's not going to die anytime soon.
No, that was.
I was going to say, if he's like 70 writing his
Yeah.
final book,
Yeah.
then I'll be like, ooh.
It's like, God, I hope this actually has a finish. But he he said something like in 2013 that it was like 60 to 70% finished.
Okay.
And people have been saying with the current plot point, which I don't want to mention yet,
Yeah.
because it's pretty crucial, that it might be a signal of the final arc starting, so that it's going to end reasonably soon, like probably in the next 5 years, 6 years, maybe 10.
There's this one. I know the anime show is complete. It's like a rom-com. It's like a chick kind of.
Yep.
And it's been remade into like anime, Korean dramas, Chinese dramas. I've watched them all. It's like, the author passed away before it ended. So it's like talking about a guy and a girl like getting together, and the very end, like she thinks she's pregnant, not sure, and the very last thing she wrote was her going on her way to hospital. I think this is it. I'm not sure if this is confirmed because I know the anime is finished, but I know if like the very last scene in the manga apparently is like her going away to hospital to find out if she's pregnant, and then the manga artist passes away, so no one ever really knows. That's what I'm like terrified about. That's why I kind of sometimes, if a show hasn't finished or if series hasn't ended, I refuse to watch because I'm like, what happens if it just ends? And I don't feel like it's like, you know, something happens and it can't end properly, and I'm just stuck there in limbo. You know how I am. If something's like just not tidied up, I'm just like,
God, imagine if that happened to One Piece.
That will probably happen to One Piece.
The entire population of Japan would kill themselves.
You started reading Dragon Ball, didn't you?
I did.
Why?
Why not?
Do not do Dragon Ball Z.
Why?
It's so long.
It's not that long.
Wait.
It's shorter than Berserk. Dragon Ball Z.
Really?
Yeah. It's 26 volumes. Berserk's 39 at the moment.
Berserk's 39? Okay, I thought Berserk was like 15.
Nope.
Okay, never mind.
It's 39.
Well, you just said volume 14 is when the golden arc ends, so I don't know why I thought it was just going to be...
There's another 2 arcs after that have been done, and then there's a current one. But, like, what I was saying is that's one of the reasons why I'm hesitant to recommend Berserk, because the anime is not a complete story. Or rather, it is one part of the complete story, but it's like they made the one in 97 when that arc was just finishing. Yeah. And there was no more to do, and so it ends really abruptly. You know how it ends.
Yeah.
I've shown you.
Yeah.
It ends literally with Guts screaming at the camera, and then credits. And then there's a post-credit sequence of him getting his sword and walking into the world, and that's it. But that's all. And then, obviously, he wrote more.
Yeah, yeah.
And then what they did is, I think in like 2010, they made a film trilogy. Actually, no, I think it was later.
Was that the bad one, or was that...
No, the film trilogy is pretty good.
What's the bad one? Just the new anime series.
Anime series, which continues the story.
Yeah.
It adapts stuff that we haven't seen adapted in anime before, and it sucks.
Let's not talk about that.
It's not the story that sucks, the way they've done it. But, like, the films tell more of that arc than the original anime. The problem is that it still leaves it open to, like, the next chapter. So basically, no matter what happens, I know the sort of person you are who would get into something like that. I know you'd probably start reading it.
And then I'll never come out. It'd just be a black hole.
And that's the other thing as well. Like, people discover the anime, and like, I've heard people discovering anime, and they all discover it the same way. It's like they see the cover art or something like that of like a guy with a big sword cutting things up, and they're like, "Oh, this should be cool." And then they watch it, and it's like,
the fuck?
They're both traumatized by it and incredibly interested and intrigued by it, and then they have to go and read it because, and you know as well.
I'll just Google it. I'll just Wikipedia it.
Pretty much. I mean, you can read all of it online.
But I think it's not as good as an experience unless you read the manga.
That's the problem with it. It's considered to be one of the best manga ever written. Not just from a writing perspective, but the imagery, the artwork is so good. And it's not even that good. Like, it's good to start with, and then it gets, because he just becomes better at...
Yeah.
The artwork's insane.
Yeah.
Just gets better and better all the time. I mean, you know, and then I read something as insane as JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and that gets... I mean, bizarre is a good word.
Bizarre Adventure. Is there a synopsis?
Basically, so there's like different arcs, right? But they're all completely separate stories in a way. They do connect up a little bit.
How is this the first scene? It's like some naked chick.
So that goes back to the origin of that mask.
You know, you need to watch Black Butler.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'd enjoy it. All my anime is very cute, guys. I watch cute stuff like Sailor Moon, Black Butler, Tokyo Ghoul, Food Wars, Assassination Classroom. Everyone's like, I watch Berserk. People get raped. Fuck.
People get cut up.
Cut up and raped.
They lose
like,
eyes and arms and shit.
I know. And it's like, oh, my characters, like, they play with cards and,
They
you
got
know,
married
magical
and-
wands.
and-
They get married in a video game 2 episodes in for no apparent reason, and there's no other history, and I don't know why the writer would write that.
Do you know what, like, speaking of this sort of stuff, do you know what happens at the end of Cowboy Bebop?
Do not tell me.
Okay.
I want to watch
I was
it.
going to say...
Because I started watching it, and the problem was, I started watching it, and I was so busy doing other stuff at that point, I just couldn't just sit
You do
down.
have to pay attention.
Yeah, I know. So I would, because I like to watch anime in the background. Like I used to put I put Food Wars on in the background.
That's a
when I was,
good background one.
It is a good background. Or High School Host Club is also a good background one because you really don't need your brain to watch that. It's just like bleh. Sailor Moon. The thing with Sailor Moon, it's kind of like The Walking Dead.
Just keeps going.
It keeps going and there's arcs and all that, but like nothing will happen for a few episodes. It'll just be them fighting monsters, and then like something big will happen, and then you'll get to the final battle, and all this stuff will be reviewed. I wouldn't say it's anything special, but it's just like the thing that's special about Sailor Moon is like it's the OG superhero.
Yep.
But Sailor Moon herself is really annoying. Dude, like I don't mind her, but everyone thinks she's really annoying.
Well, it's like, you know, you're talking about like nothing going on for a while. I started watching Dragon Ball Z again, and then I stopped, and then I switched to Dragon Ball Kai because it's 100 episodes shorter.
What's Dragon Ball Kai?
It's basically, it's Dragon Ball Z again, but they cut out all the filler. So it's like a cut down version of the same show.
Well,
So
there's
that-
a lot of ha 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 ha, whatever. Like
There's
the
also a lot
react-
of like, there's just pointless plots that go
Yeah,
over here
yeah.
for no reason. You go, okay.
Well, that's anime. There's like so many sections. Like unless you see a specific, I think they're starting to do it more now, where the seasons are just very short. They're like 12 episodes or 15 episodes. But like back in the day, almost every anime was like always 200 episodes,
Yeah.
and it'd just be like some major plot points here and there, and then whatever in between. They'll have like when they're not. What's it called? What's it called when you have something on the side?
B plot.
No. Oh my god, it's like a filler episode, but I can't remember my words today.
That's right.
But like it's like filler episodes where it's just completely like nothing to do with the original story. It's just like there's this one called Prince of Tennis, which was one of the it's oh my god, it's so fucking long. It's like 200 episodes. Which to me is like was long, and it's probably one of the only anime.
That's why I don't watch One Piece.
Yeah, or Naruto.
Yeah, fuck that.
Literally fuck that. And there were just episodes where they were like, we know you're in the middle of a very important episode. However, let us show you to this chibi version of it. Like they had this weird filler episode where everyone was like drawn differently and like little chibi characters, and there were this huge family. And I liked it. It was cute, but I'm like, why? Like looking back on it, I'm like, why did you put that in? Just doesn't make any sense. Same with Bleach though, but Bleach doesn't have filler episodes, they have filler arcs.
Yeah.
It's so bad. Like and they don't just have one filler arc, it's like 2 filler arcs in a row, here's some filler episodes in between. And they don't even try and subtly hide it. They're like last time, and then it'll be like 20 minutes of what happened, like 15 minutes of what happened last time, and it's like, however, we must now turn your attention to
Something completely
something
different.
like the guy who's narrating it announces it. He's like, sorry guys, not today. And I'm just like, fuck, why? Why does this exist? Bleach is like the biggest disappointment of my life because I really enjoyed it until it got weird and fillery and shit.
Well,
And-
I actually watched like a whole video on Bleach, like because I didn't know what it was at all,
yeah,
and it was like the guy who wrote the manga, like because he was in Shonen Jump, which is like the biggest fucking thing.
yeah.
where
I think you were
Drag-
telling me,
like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was published in there, like One Piece,
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z,
yeah,
Naruto, I think, all the others, like Food Wars.
Food Wars. Prince Tennis was Show and Jump as well, I think, as well.
Yeah, so he got pressured basically because
He wanted to end it, and then
he wanted to end it like he wasn't interested in carrying over like enormous long form story. He was just interested in like short, and then it just got to like third or fourth arc or something like that, and he's just like, fuck it, I'll just recycle everything and like, let's just do this again. And like, he just didn't give a shit anymore.
I know.
He wanted to move on, and that's one of the reasons why Bleach is so shit after a while, apparently. So
Don't Talk to Me is like a hole in my heart.
Yeah, like
because I really invested. I got to a point where I was super invested, and then I was just like, nah. Anyways, we shall end the episode here. I think we've diverged enough.
Yes, we will.
Oh, good.
All
what
right.
should we do next week? When's Avengers coming out? The new trailer came out yesterday.
No, late April.
Late April. So we've got maybe two episodes left before. 3 episodes left before we have to go see it. I say that as either better, and we have to go see it.
We do.
Yeah, we do. What other films are coming out?
I mean,
do you really want to do Tomb Raider or something?
If we just want to be lazy, we can do Annihilation next week.
I don't know what that is.
It's Netflix, the Natalie Portman film. About you showed me the trailer. You sent me the.
I showed you. Oh yeah.
That's on Netflix.
Yeah, because it's got.
It's the director of Ex Machina.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be really good.
Who was it? Who's in it? Natalie Portman. And who's the guy?
Oscar Isaac. Star Wars.
Yes, him. Yes, because that's why. Because I was looking at Star Wars stuff, and that was on the side of the trailer because it had the same guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she's also been in the prequels.
Yeah. Oh, that's weird. Oh, it's like if the Star Wars characters just went off, and it's like, you want to go to another universe, maybe? Yeah. Cool. Anyways,
look, Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman were in Black Panther.
That's weird. It's all weird. People just, you know what? It's like when people start working together, like freaking Emma Stone and like Ryan Gosling, they've just been together as a couple in so many films. Whenever I see them, I'm like, surely.
That's like somebody did a really bad joke about Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman in Black Panther. They're just like, they're the only two white guys in the cast, and they're also both in Lord of the Rings films. So they're the Tolkien black guys, the white guys.
Oh my God! Stop. We are going to end this episode right here, okay?
Yes. Okay.